crafters, welcome to Paints and Glitter. My name is Raquel. Today I am going to share with you how to create these darling little cards. You may have seen the previous release video for Tonic Studios Crakt Kit Prom Me To You. If you've not seen it yet, then I do have a separate video just sharing with you what items are included, but I want to share with you today how to make this little card here, which I think is so darling, as well as this one. And I don't have a tutorial for this card, however, I do explain how it is made, so if you want to find out, then stay tuned. I will be happy to share. To make this card, I've cut down a panel that is folded in half, and this does measure 5.5 inches tall by 9 inches wide, and then scored at 4.5. And this is with the white classic card, the smooth card that was in the kit. And then I've cut out some panels with the white classic card. And this is the 300 GSM. This is the, I believe it's 80 pound. So what I've done is use the beautiful die that was included that creates a scalloped border with also a little edge that you can fold over. And what I want to do here is to adhere this scalloped edge to the front of the card. I'm also going to adhere a second one to the back. So it's basically going to look like this. Take this little strip here, and I'm just going to apply adhesive to that. Just a little bead of adhesive there. And then I'm going to line this up on the inside of the card with that edge meeting the edge of the card there. And this is going to fold over, of course. You can apply that and then just burnish that nicely. So this is the front, and I'm going to apply the same to the back, only this time I'm not going to fold it. If you'd like to, you can just apply adhesive to that edge of the back there, and then line up the score line of your panel there all the way to the edge. And of course you can kind of verify how it's looking by using the grid. Flip it over. Okay, so it should be nice and straight, just like that. Once I have these two pieces adhered to the front of my card and also the inside here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a third piece, cut exactly the same way, but I'm going to adhere it to the back here. I'm going to gauge this again. In fact, I can just put this right here because I know how far out I want that to extend. And then I'm just going to overlap the card, making sure it's nice and straight there. And before it's dry, just double check. So you see how it's joined right there? So it actually meets the actual edge of the card there. So you can push it in a tiny bit if you'd like, but that's perfect. Pull it out maybe a 1/16 of an inch from the edge of this card if you need a measurement. Okay, but you can just eyeball it. All right. So now I know this will be only just under 7 inches from this horizontal perspective. And then now I'm going to add the second one to the inside here. So this can be 4 3/8 by 5 3/8. Apply this right here. Now the second panel here, and I had folded it originally, but you don't need to fold that. Just keep it like this and then adhere this to the front. If you're having a black tie wedding, this would be wonderful for that type of invitation, or just a card for the bride and groom. So I'm going to cut this one down a tiny bit because I don't want it to reach, don't want it to overlap here. So I'm just going to take about a 1/16 of an inch away from this one as well. So I took away about that much. So this black panel measures 4 3/8 by 5 3/8. And of course you can add a second panel on top for the sentiment. I just love framing them out. Just gonna give it a nice elegant touch. So be mindful of the distance because you do want an equal margin all the way around. Okay, so this is the foundation of my card, and you can tell it's got this beautiful scalloped edge. Now I have what is going to entail the front of my card. So I'm going to gather all of those pieces. So to proceed, what I have here, as you can tell, is this gorgeous suit. I absolutely love this. And with the die that's included to go with this suit is actually going to leave the impression of all those little lines right there. It looks like actual fabric. I think it's so awesome. And it also has the stitching line of the fly here, and then also the layer that creates what you're going to put inside here for the tuxedo. And then you can also cut out, using one of the dies included, the buttons. I decided to go with the white only because I wanted the contrast. Here you can also see that you have the lapels of the suit jacket and a bow tie. You also have, which is hard to see here, but you do have a smaller piece. It looks similar to the bow tie, but it's actually the neckline. So please take advantage of that. It does add a little something extra. And of course you can cut it in any color you like, so you don't have to do it all white and black. Of course, using the items from the kit, I'm trying to give you a sample here. The little pocket is so cute. That is also cut out with the same die that's going to cut out the little buttons. And then that little kerchief that I added inside of the pocket is actually cut out using the same die that cut out the little bow tie. All I did, of course, was to cut it out of that fuchsia pink included in the kit, and then I colored it in with the glitter gloss pen, so that way it would have that little bit of sparkle. Here you see the shoes. I also used the die set to cut out this little banner and then heat emboss the sentiment, which says "on your wedding day." And I also took advantage of the vellum in the kit and cut out some layers of this gorgeous wedding dress. This is going to go on the front. So I've cut out, using the base die, the piece of vellum twice. There's also this little strip that you can cut out separately, adhered those to the bottom edge. And then I did cut out the same skirt using the base die that's included in the set. However, I took this little strip here and I cut into the bottom portion, and then I cut away at the edges to get a shorter skirt. Okay, because I'm going to layer these together. And then there's another die that's included that will cut this size skirt. However, I've decided to use it as the veil. And what I did is that I cut it out of that classic white card, and then I used the verso dies included that will cut into the background, and I used all three of those, then used the same basic die to cut out the piece of vellum and adhered it just on that top edge. Then we have the little shoes. I've cut them out in two colors. You can see that I adhered the pink card behind the white. I'm leaving those little pieces right in there, but I did gloss them up with that glitter gloss pen. Then I cut out that little sash that you can cut out and also colored that in. There are little flowers that you can cut out using this kit. I've cut them out using the white pearlescent card, also that fuchsia card, and then added little drops in the center of this crystal drop here that I happen to have an ivory seashell to emulate pearls. So now I'm just going to add these to the front, and you do have to kind of gauge the distance here because they're essentially going to be overlapping here. I'm going to start here. I'm going to adhere that little pair of pants right here, and I'm going to gauge the distance to where I think it should go. You do whatever you're comfortable with, of course. This is going to go on this side of the card just because it fits better there. And you can see the back of that suit jacket, how easily, all you have to do is add a tiny little bead of adhesive to add those layers. So now I'm going to adhere this to the background. Yep. So he's going to go way up here so that I can add his shoes. Just like that. Okay. So if you're going to copy this, don't put any adhesive on that sleeve until you have your placement correct, because adhesive will oxidize on white paper particularly, and you don't want it to get messy. However, There's always a fix, so don't despair if that happens. You can either use a rubber eraser or you can very well use a mono combo eraser, and this is a sand eraser. However, you can definitely use it for those little tiny bits of adhesive that you might get on the front of a card. Just make sure it's almost dry before you do that to clean up a white card, and just use it in a circular motion, and that, generally speaking, is going to get off any kind of adhesive that you don't want there. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to layer the skirt first, just to make it one piece before I start doing anything else. I'm going to apply adhesive to the top portion there, which is the waistline. I'm going to stagger the second piece right on top. And you won't see this because it's going to be covered up with that other little skirt piece. So you're not using a lot of adhesive here, especially on vellum, since it does buckle with water and adhesive does have some water in it. So you want to be careful about that. So I'm first going to place the veil. So it's going to go really close to the top here. I'm going to add the top, being mindful not to add any adhesive on that opening portion. I don't want that to show. I'm going to add that a little bit close to the top as well. I'm going to apply the sash. And it just looks adorable to add that little pop of color. Then we're going to add the little shoes, and this explains the placement of everything else, of course. I want to be able to add these to the bottom. And it's up to you if you want those peeking out or if you want them on the front. I don't think there's a wrong way to go about it. And then to emphasize the fact that this is a veil, I'm going to be placing the larger flower here in the center. These are 3 flowers stacked together, actually 4, and then the little drop in the middle. It's going to cover up that edge a bit, so I'm going to hold on to that till it dries and then add the other 2 little flowers on either side, being really careful. I've cut down my sentiment, and of course you can add this with foam adhesive if you choose to do so, but as you can see, it's a little bit shorter now. And all I did was use the same die to overlap that paper and cut it to a suitable size. And the front of my card is pretty much complete. Now, of course, you can just add little drops if you choose to do so. Little pearl ones are beautiful, or you can just add clear drops, you can add glitter drops, anything that you like, or you can, of course, use the colored ones to match the wedding party if you choose to do something like this. And I think that that would be absolutely darling and very, very elegant. Understated, but I think that when it comes to a black tie wedding, that these types of cards are just absolutely perfect. So let's go on to the next one. I'll show you what else I've made. For this next card, as you can see here, I've used the dies in the set and made this gorgeous little dress. So what I've done is taken that fuchsia card and cut into it on that layer using the die provided. And then for the background, that's where I use that beautiful glitter card. Here you see that I've made that little belt with the die included. And then there are 2 different buckles. I chose the one that's a little oval, and then I've matched matched it with this gorgeous little purse that you can create. Now these are two different dies here. The white layer is created with a small die, and then that fuchsia layer is created with a second die that will actually create a little fold so that this little portion here can actually open if you want it to. I thought that was really cute. Then I did back everything up with a second layer of thick 300 GSM card. Then for the background here, what I've done is I cut down a panel and I just use a different die set for that. However, from the kit, I did use two of the dies here, and they are the ones that coordinate with that beautiful scalloped edge die that I had used on the previous card, but you can cut into the background. And so that's exactly what I did. And then I did use those gorgeous drops to go ahead and decorate that panel. And it might be a little bit more visible in pictures later, but here I also went ahead and cut the shoes, and I did cut out the sentiment, "You are fabulous," and I stamped it with the stamp from the collection. And then here I've stamped and cut out the little flower onto pearlescent card, and then again I stamped it out and then added some of those dream drops on top to give it that iridescent look. And then for that fuchsia panel, I again cut into that background with that die. This is a 5x7 base with the black card. So I'm just going to adhere this first. And you can make it topsy-turvy if you want to, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this straight up and down. And then what I did is I purposely left some space here at the bottom so that I could add that sentiment. This, by the way, is the smooth white card that was included in the kit. And just try your best, right? So here I'm going to add the sentiment first. And I'm going to add it a little bit toward the right. I love the font that was included on this, by the way. I think it's so pretty. Then the black and white little flower here. I'm going to try to be careful that the little leaves remain within the card here. I'm going to keep playing. There we go. Okay, I do have another little flower that I had cut. So I think I'm going to use it just to cover up some of that. Just going to use it there, because if that happens, then you've got to fix it. So anyway, it's always going to have another little plan. Okay, so I'm going to add the little shoes down here. And then I'm going to have the little dress on top. I think they can be off to the side. And I'm just going to add these down here to this corner. And now before I add the dress, I'm going to grab one of these little wobblies, and that's why I waited for that. So the idea is that these match one with another, and you're meant to peel away the top protective layer. I'm going to use this tool to remove the backing, because you're meant to peel away that paper. Okay. And when it's clear, that's when you know that the adhesive is showing. Okay. So now I'm going to adhere this to just about the center of this little dress here. And now there's another backing here that'll correspond to the card. So first, of course, I want this to be, you'll hear it click. You want it to be pressed down. Okay, here we are. And there's a little coil here, you'll notice, and that's what's going to allow this to move. So now I'm going to just place the dress here, kind of, I might have to remove some of these little drops that I had placed on here. So easy enough, I'm just going to take my little pokey tool and take away some of these drops. They're not going to be visible, so it's okay. There we go. All right, so now I feel more confident in applying this. And I'm just going to press down on it, and there's going to be some lift, and that's normal. But now my little dress is going to move back and forth. And I think that that is so cute. Super adorable. So that completes this card. And then off to the side here, I have one drawing that I created, and the papers that were available in the principal pearlescence, one of them is this ivory sheen. And I just think that this is such a gorgeous paper, and it looks like a very, very light yellow. And I went in that direction for the last card using the gray card available in the kit. And so I took the die set. Now, mind you, there's a skirt that's created. The base shape is this size. However, you can cut that. What I did with that skirt is that I used this die here. And what I've done with it is that I cut into that paper, and it allowed me to separate the different lengths there. And then I also cut into the pearlescent paper again 3 times using that little strip, and that allowed me to create the little borders that I added there. I also cut the same skirt with the vellum included in the kit, and just to give it a very delicate and just very feminine touch, I did take a stylus, and on the back of that vellum I just pressed little dots all the way around to make it look like fabric. And then I did top it off with the dream drops on the front on a few of those little drops. Then I added some tulle that is in a golden color, so you may see a little bit of that shine. Here is a little bit more of a close-up of that dress, and as you can see there, I did add a little bit of tulle, and what I did is that I used some little diamond dots to help hold it down as a layer. So I did layer some of that tulle behind the vellum and some of it in front, but you can also see that I added drops there. Some of the dream drops are giving that paper that beautiful glisten, and I just love the way that that turned out. I also used the die that creates that scallop edge, and I just added it to this paper, which by the way is 8 1/4 inches tall. So I just cut it down so that I could have panels that were 3 3/4 inches wide, or 3 1/4 inches wide, so that way I could fit all of the panels there. And then I did create the suit with the other color of gold card, and that was a majestic gold, and I added more of the white, and I also used the stamp that had the little flower from the kit, and I heat embossed onto the background using some embossing powder, and that created that beautiful glisten there, very delicate. And then lastly, I did use some shimmer powder in Solar Flare. That was not in the kit, but I wanted to add a little bit more of that shimmer just to that tall panel there on both corners, and all you have to do is spritz it with a little bit of water. But that creates just a really delicate finish, and I just thought that would be a really pretty palette. This was a lot of fun to create with. You can go from a very black tie event style card, which is what I had mentioned before, to something really playful and fun, and of course something more elegant or whimsical. Whichever your style is, let me know your thoughts. I do hope that you have enjoyed this video, and if you're new here, I do invite you to subscribe. Don't forget, if you're new to my channel, that in the description bar of this video you're going to find all necessary links. So if you want to try out a kit for the first time, if you've not done so, then you can definitely purchase a one-off kit, or you can subscribe and then enjoy the extra 10% off of anything at the Tonic Studios store. Don't forget to leave a comment. Let me know which is your favorite. What kind of card would you try to make first? Be inspired and be blessed, and I thank you so much for watching.